Hey guys, this here is Getaway Driver 101, and today I'm going to be giving y'all an explanation on how to increase FPS. And just note to self that this method is completely harmless, involves no downloading, involves no files, involves the tools that are on Windows that actually runs the system itself. We're going to start with 1. Make sure your BIOS XMP is on. It's in BIOS. Now, I could probably pull a photo of that up here in just a minute. Alright, so we are back. So this here is the XMP. So this here is just an example on a older computer. This is just a picture. So XMP, you're going to go in and turn on XMP profile. What that does is it gives you extreme memory overclock. It tells you over here what it does. Now it can cause stability issues. It can cause crashing. Now, to determine whether or not after you've turned it on, if you experience any of that, is you go download Cinebench R23. And from there, Cinebench R23 will let you benchmark the CPU. After you benchmark the CPU, I recommend going and getting Heaven Benchmark. Heaven Benchmark. You benchmark the computer with Heaven Benchmark, so I'll demonstrate that in just a second. So Heaven Benchmark, you'll open it. It'll open a little command prompt, and then right here is Heaven Benchmark, and you'll make sure you set it to 11, because that's what's recommended. This is an older model benchmark tool, so it's easier on older graphics cards and works with newer graphics cards. It works perfectly fine, so I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate it. What this does is it will benchmark the graphics card. Now, even though it's benchmarking the graphics card, it still has to run some form of memory. Now, you have the Windows Memory Diagnosis tool. If you experience blue screens, you could try running that, but I don't recommend doing that. There are some people out there that will recommend running that if you experience blue screens. Only run that if it's a actual Windows problem and not an overclock. Okay. Because when you enable an overclock, you can cause problems running troubleshooters that are deeply embedded with the motherboard, if that makes sense. So we're going to run this, and usually you want to run this for about 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, usually long enough until your graphics card hits about 70C. I recommend disabling sound. You have to set up. So once you know your FPS and you know that it can run for about 20 minutes, I recommend about 20 minutes. I'm going to say about 20 minutes. You want to make sure this here can hit about 70C. You don't want to see it hitting 80 or 90. If you start getting into the 75s and high 80s on your graphics card, that could indicate that your graphics card may be overheating. And if that's so, you may have to apply new thermal paste. CPUs usually can hit about 90C to 100C. 90C for about 40 minutes. Really, they recommend 10, 15 minutes tops when it comes to 80, 90C. Any duration after about 30 minutes of 90C or higher can cause the system to heat up dramatically or cause the hardware to get damaged. Now, if you are running 13, 14 Gen, and if you are running 70X, 100X 3Ds for CPUs or higher, for your AMD or Intel, those there should be able to hit 100 solid C. No problem. The motherboards themselves probably can handle about 85C until the motherboard starts getting a little mad, you know? And what I mean by the motherboard is your motherboard itself, the socket usually doesn't get as hot as the CPU is getting. So usually 9 times out of 10, if your CPU is doing 100C, your socket's maybe like 70. So really, your CPU would have to be doing more than 100C. It would have to be doing like 110, 125C to make your motherboard angry. So if your motherboard is the problem, then you have old hardware. It's outdated. You may have to go upgrade. If it's a low-end computer for modern hardware, but it's low-end, I recommend starting simple. Clean the computer up, clean everything up. If it's really dusty, really nasty, clean it. We're gonna move power plan. I know, I just put PW, don't mind me. So power plan, you're gonna see this come up. Then you're gonna choose this. You have advanced over here, you have performance here. You can pick between this. This is one way to do it. Or you can go back one step and pick this way. Now, if you're running actual hard drives, I recommend setting that to 15 to 30 minutes. That's for if the computer sits and idles while you're away, you're not on, you're gone, and the computer just sits and idles. Really, actually, it would probably be best set it to an hour. And that's really if you're gone for a long period of time. I mean, if you're one of the people that happens to leave your equipment AFK a long period of time, probably would set that to an hour. So what that would do is after an hour, it would shut the hard drives off and leave only the one that is running either the applications or the Windows operating system. It won't do anything else. From there, you're going to go down to management processing. You're going to make sure this is set to 100, this is set to 100, and then hit OK, apply, so on and so forth. And then from there, you're going to go to your system configurations. Now, you want to make sure these boxes are uncheck marked. There's a lot of videos I've seen that say, hey, yeah, you should check mark these boxes and select the number of CPU cores. You shouldn't have to do that, because when you go into Task Manager and go to Performance, you can see your local processing amount. If it's not reading the correct number, then you would have to manually go in and do it. But you shouldn't have to manually go in and do it if it's reading all 28 or 16 or 12, depending on your processor or CPU. So from there, we're going to move on to the way that you should have your CPU set up. So when it comes to your CPU and power plan, you want to make sure that you have it at 100% processing on minimum and maximum. And that's to make sure you don't disable your boost clock. A lot of people, for some reason, you'll see these videos that say you should go in here and adjust things. You should not do that. You should go in and apply it as ultimate performance if that's what you want, or high end, depending on if your computer can handle ultimate performance or not. If not, you could go one step above balance and go to normal or go to high. But I do not recommend going in and disabling you should go in here and adjust things. You should not do that. You should go in and apply it as ultimate performance if that's what you want, or high end, depending on if your computer can handle ultimate performance or not. If not, you could go one step above balance and go to normal or go to high. But I do not recommend going in and disabling a bunch of features if you don't know what you're doing. Reason why I say that is because you see these people having you go in and change registries and thermal throttling. Thermal throttling is for safety issues. It's to make sure that your CPU doesn't explode. It's to make sure that your CPU doesn't spark. It's to make sure that your CPU doesn't burn out. It's to make sure that you don't blow a thread. It's to make sure that you don't blow a capacitor. It's to make sure that you don't blow the MOS battery on the board. That's why the battery, when you first buy the computer, you build one, the battery has a label on it stating warning may result in fire or explosion, because them batteries can explode if you're if you are technically that's an overclock if you're disabling thermal throttling in registries. That is a overclock, basically. You are overclocking the computer to a state that it doesn't downclock. It says no downclock, always up, 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 up. And the hotter the computer gets, it keeps saying up. And eventually, what happens when something hits more than 100%? What happens when something hits more than 150%? Then you are risking your equipment. Ultimate performance, FPS, max, you're good to go. Go hop on a game, go try it out. It should be anywhere between a 15% FPS increase. Now 15% could be 25 FPS. Could be 125 FPS. Depends on the setup, the motherboard, the CPU, and the graphics card. If you have a 3060 and an i5 12th gen, it might uplift it about 35 frames. 35 frames because you don't need to go in and disable a bunch of features. Now you can disable sleep if you don't like sleep. You can disable some display management properties. Make sure it's at least on quality. Make sure you are running quality, things like that. If you're going to mess with your media settings, you want to make sure those are on at least performance or quality playback. You don't want it to be on power saving mode. You don't want it to be on energy efficiency mode. I think that's where all them videos are mistaking all these random software that people are going and downloading, is that this software isn't really doing anything besides going in and turning off like 3 things. And that's it. Them 3 things, one of them is damaging your computer. The second one, you can go in and disable yourself, which is you can increase this to performance, you can increase media sharing, idle to sleep, quality video playback instead of having it on this default balanced. And that's what I'm saying, like, or power saver. It could be on one of those. So you need to go in and make sure that your video playback is on quality, you're on performance, you're on ultra, your XMP is turned on, and you should be good to go. That should be about a 30 frame increase. Do not be downloading random software. If you have downloaded random software, here's what I can do. Go watch the Security Online video that explains Hitman Pro. Now, the video is kind of old and botchy and a little botched. So, sorry about the quality if you do go and watch it. But Hitman 64 is a good second opinion scanner. If you think Windows Defender is not working correctly, I recommend running Hitman 64. It will let you know if there is a problem with the computer. If for some reason you can't remove it using the application because they tell you have to go and pay for their subscription, they'll at least tell you the file and the driver. Then you can go and download Revoke Uninstaller and use that to delete the driver if it's a driver. If it's a registry tweak that it detects, you can use Revoke Uninstaller to fix the registry tweak. You can also use go create a new Windows media installation, put it on a drive, plug it into the computer, restart the computer, boot into the Windows installation media, tell it to keep all your files, and it will reset all registries and all Windows files. Now, that's a little bit of a hassle. That could be about a 3-hour process. So don't do that unless you have to. I recommend starting simple if you're going to remove or fix anything that these random people have had you do, especially with registry. Go download Revoke Uninstaller, download Hitman Pro, and put Malwarebytes on your computer, the free version, for at least 14-15 days. It'll give you a period of time for the computer to fix itself, debug itself. Malwarebytes security engine will also help the security fix itself. The security video that I've made will demonstrate how to go in and turn on online privileges for security management for online. It will also demonstrate how Microsoft Edge security works. Now, I do know that Microsoft Edge recently updated and changed some of their security. So, Microsoft Edge has a few new security features where if you don't know how to... If that video doesn't show you the correct security features, I can remake that video. Other than that, this is how you increase your FPS properly. Because if I were to go in and I'll just disable it, let's say I put this on power saver. I'm being serious. Let me put it on power saver. Oops. We're going to put it on power saver. I'm going to do that. And now we're going to boot this up. Now, what this is about to do is I'm probably about to lose about 100, probably more than 100 frames. Probably going to be less than 90. Before it was 94, I was hitting about 150 OBS. Now it's probably only going to be like 62 frames. Yeah. No, it's still doing 90. Okay, well this test is irrelevant. But the point to it is like for games that are truly intensive for CPU, because this is not using the CPU. I guess that doesn't really help me. So I guess I could go boot up a game and display it with a game like No Man's Sky. So let's boot up a game. And I just want people to understand here. Let's do scrap mechanic. I just want people to understand that power saver mode versus ultimate performance or even balanced are two completely different functionalities, three completely different functionalities than them registry tweaks or software. The software registry tweaks physically adjust, registry tweaks adjust how the operating system understands what is going on. So we're running at 200 frames, 199 in the menus. It's struggling to kind of stay at a solid 200. Before I usually run solid 200 straight off, no issues, solid 200 the entire time I'm playing, no dips, no drops, no nothing. I guarantee you in game it's probably gonna be like, yeah. Okay, so it's 70, 84, so I've lost about 30 frames. So like I said before, but look at my clock speeds. They're only at 2000 megahertz, 1000 megahertz. So I've lost almost all of my clock speed. I have almost no clock speed as far as speed goes. Now it is trying to spike to 4 gigahertz, and it's trying to hit 3 gigahertz, but the computer keeps telling it, no, you can't do that. You'll overheat. That's why you don't need performance on power saver or balanced. You want them on ultimate or high performance. So I will demonstrate. I'm gonna go in and we're gonna put this on ultimate while the game is running. Solid 200. 5.4, 4.4, 5.4, 5.6 gigahertz ratio. Now the temperature did go up. See, now the temperature went up by almost 8C, and that's because you have frame cap too. You should always cap your frame rate. Your frame rate is entirely based on how your frames are running based on computing power. If the computer says it has high power performance, the computer is going to consume more power to compute faster. If your computing status for power saver is set to low power saver, you're not going to be computing very fast. You're not going to be running very quick. You're going to be tripping over more rocks, sprinting. You're going to be stumbling more in firefights than being able to hit your target. And the reason why I put it in those terms is because it's also going to affect the physical gameplay of certain games like Fortnite, Call of Duty. It may even affect the simpler games like this. This is not really the most high-end demanding game, but it's also not the most low-end demanding game. This is one of the games that sits right smack dab in the middle of the sandwich. Like it just doesn't really. It does when it needs it. It does when it needs it. And right now it's saying that it can stay cool but yet stay warm. So it's only doing 68, scraping the surface of 67, 70, and then going all the way down to 57. So it's regulating pretty well. So if your computer if you can't tell if you're regulating well for your computer and you feel like it may be overheating, I recommend downloading HW Hardware Monitor. HW Hardware Monitor will let you see all the components and sensors of what's going on. This is how you properly increase frame rate. No BS, no files downloaded, nope. Nothing. Do it on your own terms, do it how you want. If you don't like it, you can go back and turn it off. No registry edits, none of that. You do not have to worry about breaking your system doing it this way. At least this way you're less likely to break something. At least this way you can go back and hit no and turn it off and put it back on balanced if your computer goes, oh no. If your computer goes, oh no, you'll know when it goes, oh no. Because you'll boot a game up and it may run perfect for a few minutes. And the reason why I recommend doing about a 30-minute run on your most demanding games. Make sure your games don't crash. Make sure your games don't boot up. Be careful adjusting settings on ultimate performance. You can crash that way. Anything that you're doing on ultimate performance, just make sure you're being cautious, because ultimate performance is, as it says, you are running a higher performance. It is eating more power, consuming more electricity. And if your computer is an i9 14th gen with a 4090 and you're doing this, I recommend doing what I'm doing. Have a temperature gauge running on the side. Go download MSI Afterburner. You can run it on Asus, Gigabyte, and MSI setups. It does not have to run on just MSI. Big misconception about that software. It is an overclocking software. You don't have to use it as overclocking software. You can go straight past overclock, straight into settings to monitoring, and go in and select all the CPU, processors, cores, percentages, buses, memory bandwidths, all that stuff, and put them on the side. And at least that way you'll be able to monitor your heat level, your temperature level while you're gaming, if you're playing very high demand games at all times. Reason why I recommend monitoring your heating level if you're running a computer that's extremely high demanding with a 4090 or 4080. That's very toasty equipment. I say toasty, talk about having a bonfire sitting next to you. So if you're running high demanding games, you don't want your bonfire sitting next to you crackling. You want to make sure the crackling is not crackling. You want to make sure it's not popping either. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe. I hope this helped y'all with FPS issues and how FPS works. I hope this also helped y'all with the performance and performance capabilities of what your computer can do. I hope this also helped you with any other issues that your games have had. Now, this may not fix all games, but this will make the majority of about 90% of games run smoother, better, and easier on the computer, including faster boot up cycles on games. I also recommend going into Task Manager and disabling all startup programs. You'll just go here, left click, Task Manager, startup programs, and disable all of these except for your security. And if you have integrated graphics, make sure it's enabled too. Integrated graphics should never be disabled. If you do disable it in startup programs and you attempt to ever use integrated graphics during a troubleshooting scenario, it may not activate when Windows boots up. Windows may turn around and deactivate it as it's booting up, and then turn around and give you a black screen and have no boot up to integrated. So just make sure that your integrated graphics mode and integrated graphics setting does not get disabled. If you do not have integrated graphics, do not worry about it. Not all computers have it, not all CPUs have it. Only K models and 3D models, I believe X3D models, have it on AMDs. I could be wrong about the AMDs. If you have an AMD, you would have to search it up. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Alright, so we're going to go to system configuration and do this real quick. Now, what system configuration is that all these videos are telling these people to do is it tells them to go here, access it, it tells them to change it to selective startup, only systems and only load items, but don't use original boot. And then it tells them to go here and go to advanced and check mark number of processors and memory and set their maximum processor. Now this here, yes, you can do, but you don't want to do. It's not good. It causes more harm than good. And the reason why it causes more harm than good is because it's telling the computer that it has to use all 28. And you might think, oh, well, that's good then. It should. No, it should not for everything. Because when you do it for everything, what ends up happening is it causes more errors, more crashing, and more debugging that needs to be done, which causes just more work in general for the computer to do. You don't need the computer to do more work. You need it to do what it needs to do and run the game at peak efficiency. For it to run it at peak efficiency, it needs to select the processors that are efficient and are capable of doing the job. The way the computer knows which processors are capable of doing a job is it has a speed rate and calculation rate that it does. You can go use check disk to see how fast it's actually accessing files and how fast it's able to close and open and do things. And it will tell you your millisecond percentages of how fast your computer's actually running. Now, is that going to help with games? 50-50. Not a guarantee. I recommend leaving this unchecked, restart the computer. Uncheck this, restart the computer. You uncheck them both, restart the computer. Debug, unchecked. All this stuff should be left unchecked. It should be entirely automatic by Windows. That's the whole point in it, is it's left as automatic. Now, if you are running those, it will cause problems. You will have issues. Malware can go in and change it because then it's a checkmarked setting. So if you get malware on the computer, it can go in and now checkmark and uncheckmark and change them settings now because you've accessed it. Computers are very sophisticated, but they're also very simplistic too. They're very smart, but yet very stupid.